Hey, what is up guys, I'm Xteria, and in this video, we're gonna go through what is meta in patch 15.2. Since the last video I made was save comps that you can play for LP, since during that time, we didn't really know what the meta was. Now in this video, we're gonna actually talk about what are the strongest things to play in the current meta. Before I explain to you each of the comps of the current meta, let me explain to you what are the conditions that you can win with in the current patch. So if you could find any artifacts such as flicker blades, you would almost guarantee win the game since this item is actually super broken in the current meta. Even though they nerfed it this patch, it's still one of the most highest win rate items ever in the game. And there's a lot of different units that can use this item, such as Twisted Fate, Ashe, Kog'Maw, Smolder, Kaisa, Xayah, Kayle, and Gnar. If you put flicker blades on any of these units, you just basically win out. Second to that, it would be a Manazane. This item is actually really powerful as well, but there's only a handful of units that can use it, such as Zyra, Yuumi, Karma, and Kaisa. If you put it on these units, you have a pretty easy top 4 advantage. Another thing that can make you insta-win game as well would be the Augment Protagonist, since a lot of the hero augments are actually very powerful in the current meta, especially the 1 cost. This does 2 things. 1, you're able to get multiple copies of that 1 cost unit per round, and 2, you can easily 4-star them later in the game around stage 6. So when you're playing this augment, you don't need to reroll for the 1 cost units, you could just fast level 6 or 8 and then play your board there, since you're going to guarantee 3-star anyways throughout the game. Now the opposite of things that can make you insta-win game is things that are going to insta-lose you the game, and that would be to play around GP. Since they nerfed him again on August 15th, they did another nerf to him. So if you're wondering why you're losing with him recently, this is the reason why. Second to that, it would be K'Sante. I know a lot of people always ask me, why not play all-out K'Sante? Well, the thing about it is weak now since they nerfed it a little bit, and that little bit of nerf actually hits him pretty hard. So therefore, I would suggest to play him as a main tank, not a main DPS. And speaking of tanks, the best tank synergy currently that you can play right now is Juggernaut, so try to pick up as much Juggernaut as you can in the early game, because a lot of meta comps revolve around this synergy. And speaking of early game, the best early game units you can play if you want a win streak is, for the best AP 1 cost, is going to be Syndra. Syndra just hits very hard, she does a lot of damage, and she also takes away some magic resist, so your other AP units could do a little bit of extra damage. Second to that is going to be for the AD version. Gnar is very powerful. There are tricks you can do to use him to fast 9 by putting Guinsoo's Rage Blade on him and picking the fruit on him, Golden Edge, since this allows you to gain a lot of econ over time, and Gnar hits fast enough to cash out is actually kind of worth it on him. Now the best tanks you could pick for 1 cost units would be both Garen and Aatrox, whichever one you want to play. Garen is actually really powerful since he got buffed this patch, so he's good overall, and Aatrox is just a good patch no matter what because he's also Juggernaut. For your best 2 cost AD carry that you can use in the early game would be Kaisa. You can play her as a main carry for reroll later, or you could just use her until you want to play your level 8 board. Either one's fine. And the best 2 cost tank you can look for is Mundo. This unit, I don't know why he didn't get nerfed. He's just too overpowered overall. The best AP 3 cost you can look for is Ahri. She still deletes units no matter what. So if you have her in the early game and you're looking to play AP, just use her and she'll just win you rounds. And the best 3 cost fighter you can find would be Darius. This unit just basically one-shots everything in the early game, and on top of that, if you want to play as a reroll Darius, you can. There's a specific playstyle you can do, and I'll explain that later. Getting into the tier list for patch 15.2, and what makes these comps put on the certain part of the list. S tier being is super consistent. If you play this board, it should be guaranteed top 4, unless maybe you pick a bad augment, or maybe you just couldn't 2-star certain things. A tier is more like the power is decent, and it kind of dictates on your items or maybe your augments in order to win the game. B tier is more like you need to maybe 2-star or 3-star certain units at certain times, and maybe you need to play it in a specific way. If you don't meet those conditions, you probably cannot win out. So that's what separates between S, A, and B tier. And in the S tier, the 3 safest comps you can play currently in the meta would be Volibear, Yuumi, and Ashe. These units are actually very powerful in the current meta, and each of these units do use different items. So basically for Volibear's case, if you see someone using Edge of Night, then they're playing Volley. For Yuumi's case, is any AP item. And for Ashe's case is if they have a Guinsoo's Rage Blade or Kraken, then you know that they're playing any of these comps here. Other S tier comps are very powerful to play in the current meta is Fast 9 Twisted Fate. There is a specific playstyle that I will show later in the video on how to play TF to almost guarantee it almost every game. But for the most part, TF you can play him as either AP or AD. It doesn't matter what items you put on him in all honesty. As long as he has anti-heal and Guinsoo's Rage Blade, the third item could be IE, it could be Jewel Gauntlet, it could be Gunblade, it could be whatever. It doesn't matter. These units are just so powerful right now in the current meta. Who cares? And another level 9 board that's also very powerful, surprisingly enough, is actually 7 Mech. Since everything's a little bit weaker in the current meta, 7 Mech is now able to stay alive long enough to win games now, and it's actually been doing pretty well. Another S tier comp that we can talk about is basically the Augment Protagonist. There's about 5 different comps you can play with this. And this augment just basically gives you a random 1 cost unit and their hero augment. so you can 3-star them really easily and quickly. Also, maybe 4-star later on at stage 6 or 7. So if you see this augment, just click it and you basically almost guarantee top 4 every time. Good A tier comps currently in the meta would be Kaisa reroll. It took me a couple games to finally understand how to play her, but I finally realized that she's overall pretty decent unit. She's not the worst, but now she's actually pretty good. Second to that, another reroll comp could be Jhin reroll. It does fall off on stage 5, but it's still consistent for top 4s if you hit Jhin 3 and Mundo 3 fast enough. Another good reroll comps we can talk about here would be Malphite with Crew. Malphite is just a super tank overall. All you need is just Gargoyle Stoneplate, and he's basically online. You just win games with it. The only thing you need to do is just hopefully 3-star everything, because if you don't, you will lose. Another decent reroll comp is Kayle. Even though she got nerfed, as long as you 3-star Kayle fast enough and fast 9, then this comp is pretty decent. But if you can't do that, then you're gonna lose overall. So if you don't hit level 9 with Kayle, you can't win. And another reroll comp that's actually up and rising would be Jayce reroll with Caitlyn. I kept telling my viewers that in order to play this comp, you kind of need artifact, but I've been seeing it win out without artifacts as well. Jayce overall just hits like a truck, so he's pretty good to play even without artifacts. If you are turbo win streaking in the early game with Soul Fighter, Samira Soul Fighter can be pretty decent overall. But I don't see the point of playing this comp when you could just play Volibear in my opinion. But either one's fine. You could do whichever one you want. And another level 8 board would be Star Guardian Jinx. You can play with 3-star Ari if you want to as a secondary carry. When you play Star Guardian, you kind of want to itemize 80 items on Jinx and tank items on Poppy. And that would probably get you around at least like a top 5 at least at most. Now onto the B tier comps. Karma Sork is actually kind of weak now at the moment. If you do want to win out, you have to high roll it, as in you need to somehow find Gwen at level 8 and have perfect items on both Karma and Gwen. It's played the same exact way as it was last patch. The only difference is you just need to 2-star almost everything as fast as you can, because if most units isn't 2-star, then you would not win out. Other comps that are pretty decent would be any of the Lulu comps. It's okay to play any of them. I wouldn't say most of them are OP, they're just decent to play overall. And there's a specific way to play Darius. He's actually pretty good if you play it in this certain playstyle, which is using the fusion fruit and playing all heavyweights. He's tanky enough to where he has almost 10,000 HP and he does pretty decent damage to one-shot tanks. The reason why it's B tier because it's oddly specific on how to play this comp, and it's not guaranteed that you can do it every game. Next to that would be Varus. The only reason why Fast 9 Varus would be B tier is just because the power of this board isn't as strong as TF Fast 9. If you fail to play TF when you're level 9 and you find a lot of Varuses, you might have to pivot into Varus instead and maybe hopefully get like top 6 or top 5 to save your LP. And another comp that I like playing would be Xayah reroll. This comp is actually not too bad. She's actually pretty decent overall as a carry. But then the problem is you need perfect augments. So you need 3 combat augments in order to win. That's kind of the reason why it's more of a B tier comp instead of A tier. Because you need a lot of resources for her to come online. And the trash 2 comps to talk about here would be GP Mentor. It was very broken even after the nerfs in this patch. So they have to patch it one more time. And now it's to the point where it's kind of unplayable. So don't play GP Mentor anymore if you want to gain LP. And speaking of that too, Cassante All Out is also really bad right now since they nerf All Out. And that's basically about it. This is what I think of the current tier list is. We're just going to briefly go over each of the comps because I'm too lazy to make this video an hour long. Getting right into it, we're going to be talking about the Volibear comp. And I'm going to first talk about his positioning here. A lot of people keep asking, how does this work? And the way how it works is, for those of you that don't know, for Volibear, every time when he retargets a different unit, he would jump on them doing a 1 hex radius slam. And that slam did got nerfed a little bit this patch, but it's fine because overall Volibear still hits like a truck. And the way how it works is, so technically Volibear wants to target one of these units of the golems here. So this means that technically he should be walking up and attacking these units. But since Yasuo here to block his way, as soon as Yasuo walks up, now Volibear has to retarget to a different unit. So instead of these 2, he retargets to one of these 2 over here. So it makes him jump instantly over here or in the back, either one. I don't know, sometimes it's random. And he would slam in an AoE radius. Sometimes he'll jump here and it will slam these 3 units. So now you do extra damage on the board. So that's the reason why this kind of positioning is kind of important. There's 2 different ways you can do it. You can do this positioning, or you can do something like this is fine as well. If you want to put Gnar in the back, this positioning also works as well because Volibear wants to target one of these 2. But because he also walks up and blocks Volibear's path, now he has to jump to this unit because it's the closest. So he will jump all the way over here and just slam only this 1 unit. So that's how the Volibear positioning works. And sometimes when he kills his unit, for whatever reason, he would sometimes walk to the back over here because after you kill this unit, like say for example this unit is dead, Mundo will walk up here and sometimes Volibear will walk up here because he's getting blocked by Mundo. So overall, it's pretty good positioning to do since you have a lot of damage with that style of positioning. Now we can finally talk about the Volibear board. His best in slot, or talk about his first core item, is always build IE, because this item gives him a lot of damage. Second to that, you would always need Edge of Night, because sometimes when he jumps to the back, you kind of need the Edge of Night to protect him so he doesn't die as easy. So I would say these two are the must-to-go build every single time. And third item could be whatever, just to amplify the IE and give him more damage amp. Strikers is actually a really good item, but you can sometimes do Deathblade if you need to, or you can do Giant Slayer, or you can also do Hodge, which is also okay. So like this item, I don't really like it on Volibear, but it does give him some extra critical chance, so it makes his IE at least crit higher. But overall, I like to do strikers no matter what. If I know I'm playing this comp, I would build these 3 items guaranteed. You can do other artifact items, say for example, Prowler's Claw is okay if you just want to see him fly everywhere, and this item would be okay as well to build with IE. But sometimes you can do Collector, but you don't put Collector on him forever. You just put Collector on him until you can find his third item, because that means you can just put Collector on Samira later, and that would be better on her. Then until you can build strikers to build your BIS on Volibear, that would be the best way of doing it. And for your main tank items, all you really need is just anti-heal and even shroud for armor break. You don't really need to focus on tank items. It doesn't really matter. It's just mostly damage items. But the rule is, if you have Last Whisper, then you don't need even shroud. If you already have red buff as well on Samira, then you don't need Sunfire as well. So always build at least just one anti-heal item on the board and one some sort of armor break item on the board, either on your tank or on your DPS Samira. Either one's fine. And honestly too, Samira also needs IE almost no matter what if you want to win the game. So you have to somehow try to build 2 IEs on the board, which is the hard part since you're going to be using 2 swords on Volibear. So try to get as much item augments as you can in order to build this board better. At level 9, you could just add in Zyra if you want to, or whatever, like a second Volibear if you're not too contested, or a second Braum is also fine as well. It doesn't really matter. This board basically kind of caps out at level 8, but in order to 2-star Braum, you do have to hit 9. So that means you have to fast 9 in the end after you 2-star volley at 8, then hit 9. And I did get asked this a lot. If, for example, you have Edgelord emblem at level 8, would you want to play for 6 Edgelord over 4 Luchador? And the answer is always play for Luchador no matter what. That means you have to hit 9 in order to play the 6 Edgelord. So just remember, always play for Luchador. Even if you have Luchador emblem, then that means you just get rid of Gnar and just make Samira into Luchador is fine. Let's take away this collector, make her to Luchador. Take out Gnar. I mean, you can just throw in a +1 unit like Zyra, and then when you hit level 9, then you can throw in the 6th Edgelord that you would want to play on the board to cap out the board even better. So then you have more power on the board. The best power-ups you should always take on Volibear would be Serious Slam or Finalist. Either one here is fine. I've actually been using Finalist a lot lately, and honestly, the damage amp and the damage reduction you get from this fruit is actually really powerful on him. So he doesn't die as easy, and he does extra damage. Also, most of the time when you play Volibear comp, you won't be 8th place unless for whatever reason you're just that weak. Most of the time, it'll be like a top 7 or top 6. So you at least can gain the extra stats from the Finalist fruit. And the second fruit I would say you put on would be on Samira. And the one I like to put on her most of the time is on the Edge. It feels really nice to have it on her. Or Finalist is also okay on Samira. Same thing with the Volibear reasoning. Or Precision just for the extra damage. You can do Shadow Clone if you want. If you have less Whisper or if you have red buff, this would be really good to have, because this means that you can anti-heal the board or armor break the board even more. For your opener, I suggest to play around Kalista, since she's a very powerful unit, and she can easily hold IE as your first item slam if you want to do that, or Strikers, either one is fine. And since you'd be playing Soul Fighter, having Neferi unlocks that potential with Kalista, and then from here you can even put like Sunfire or Even Shroud on Neferi, either one's fine. Or if you have Edge and Knife for whatever reason, you can build that and then maybe put IE on Neferi instead, so you can have the potential items for Volibear. She's pretty decent as a carry as well in early game. It's not the worst, but it's just whatever you can build in the early game. It doesn't really matter. And to build the rest of the board here, Aatrox would probably be best, so you can get Juggernaut. And you just throw in +1 whatever. It doesn't really matter. You can throw in another Soul Fighter unit if you want, say for example Zinzao. Or you can throw in Katarina for Executioner. Or you can throw in a heavyweight unit, since Aatrox is both Juggernaut and heavyweight. You can throw in the Zac too if you want as well. It's just whatever. Just play your strongest board up until you can play the Volibear board. Next up we got is Prodigy Yuumi. And I feel like there's no need for me to explain the late game board because it's pretty easy to play. It's just always build Gunblade around stage 4 for Yuumi because it's one of her best items. And it doesn't really matter what the rest of the items is. It could be any of the AP items or full damage as you see here from the crit items like Jewel Gauntlet Strikers. Or you can build Death Cap. It doesn't really matter. You can just interchange your items. Maybe Archangel Staff or even Adaptive Home. Unless you can't build a good third item, then Voice Staff is really good on Yuumi. Then once you get a good third item, just transfer the Voice Staff back to Malzahar is fine. And when you hit level 9, you just throw in one more Prodigy unit like Seraphine. Seraphine's kind of useless. She's just there just to fill up the board. So it's not really much to say about this comp. Besides emblems, I guess. If you have Academia emblem, then you could just throw it on Malzahar. Just take out one of your Academia units. Say, for example, you want to take out Rakan. That's fine. Then you can just throw in Nico. This is also great because you get more Star Guardian on the board. So this is fine. But if you don't have that emblem, then you're going to keep Rakan on the board. And say, for example, you have Prodigy emblem. Just throw on Kazante. Then you just don't need Seraphine anymore. Because that unit is kind of useless. Even after the buffs. I still feel like she's weak, so it doesn't even matter. So basically, you just interchange with 5 Academia and 5 Prodigy either way. Your board should be strong enough to win. Also, the tip I can give is prioritize tank items on Leona. You need at least 2 super tank items. You can build the base tank items like you see here, or better yet, if you can't build these ones, then you can build something like Protectors, or even Crown Guard if you have to, or Steadfast Heart. It doesn't really matter what tank item you have, as long as you have 2 pretty decent ones. For example, these 2 here, Steadfast and Protector. She'll last long enough for you to win rounds. So yes, you have to focus debuff items and some AP items for Yuumi, but you also have to focus tank items on Leona. So I would suggest to get at least 1 item augment to maximize your board. The best fruit you could put on Yuumi would be Bullet Hell, since it's going to make her do a lot more damage, since she can throw out more papers on the board. Same thing with Star Student. It's basically the same thing like Bullet Hell, but it's just a weaker version of it. So is Bullet Hell first, Star Student second. And if you have to, Super Genius is fine, since it gives you a lot of stats on Yuumi. Or you can do Stormbender, which I'm not really a big fan of on Yuumi, but it does work. Second unit that you want to put the fruit on would be Leona. And I would say stay away from Unstoppable. It feels kind of weird to put it on for the Prodigy Yuumi board, because it makes the positioning weird. So take either Resistant or Selfish is really good for this board, because it makes her pretty tanky, and on top of that, your Yuumi and Malzahar is just going to keep infinitely healing Leona, so this is really good for her. Or if you get Kazante 2 first before you can find Leona 2, then same thing, either one, Resistant or Selfish. Maybe Unstoppable, Kazante is decent. So if you have Kazante as a main tank, then you can do Unstoppable on him. For your best opener that you can play is Syndra with Ezreal, so you can get Prodigy on the board already. And Syndra is one of the best early game units, and she hits like a truck. You can build whatever AP items you can, such as Jewel Gauntlet, or you can build Voice Staff, or any of the mana items like Shojin, or even something like Adaptive Helm is fine. Either one is great. Those are the best early game items you can put on Syndra, and you can just win rounds. Unless somehow you get Artifact, say for example you get Mana Zane, you would easily win throughout all stage 2, because this unit's just that powerful with this item. And the front lines you want to play around is mostly Rel, since you get Star Guardian with Syndra. And since Rel is a Bastion unit, you could throw out Garen. Then from here, more Star Guardian units, or more Battle Academia units, or more Prodigy units. Just make the strongest board you can make, and build up to Yuumi. That's basically about it. Next up, we got is one of the most easiest comps to play in the current meta. The only hard part is just getting all the bows for Ashe. And this would be Ashe Juggernaut. All you have to do is just make Even Shroud as your tank item, and maybe Sunfire or Merlocon as your anti-heal item. And you have to build both Rageblade and Kraken on Ashe no matter what, unless you get, say for example, Flicker Blades, you basically just win the game already. But if you can't get that, then whatever extra bolt item, like another Kraken is fine, or Giant Slayer, or even double Rageblade is okay. It's not the best, but it does something. If not, sometimes I like to do Gunblade just so you can heal the board, or Deathblade, or IE, or sometimes I like to do Edge of Night, just so she can stay alive, or QSS is also okay as a third item. It's just mix and match with a third item, and always get Kraken and Rageblade no matter what. And when you hit level 9, you can just throw out either another level 2 Ashe if no one is contesting you, or you could just throw out TF, either one is fine. Or you can throw out Braum if you want to as well. Braum will give you a lot more advantages on the board, and just position Mundo on this side and have Braum in the middle just so he can toss people, because this gives you Luchador, which is a really good synergy. It's extra CC on the board. And if you want to upgrade a unit, you could just take away Aatrox and turn Lee Sin into. The reason why you don't take out Neferi is because you need that Soul Fighter for set. So that's basically about it for this board. There's not really much to say. It's just try to hit this board at level 8, which is basically this board, 6 Juggernaut and 3 Crystal Gambit. You can use any unit besides Zyra. For example, you can throw in maybe Janna until you find Zyra, and then just build your best board after level 9, and hopefully you win out. Basically about it. For Ashe best fruits, is any of the S tier ones you see here, which is Shadow Clone, Desperado, Kahuna Huna, and Double Strike. All these are great. It doesn't really matter, just pick whatever one you see. If you want to know which was my favorite, I prefer Desperado or Kahuna Huna. These two are really good. Sometimes I do Shadow Clone, but I feel like it's kind of fake on Ashe, but it is really good. It's up to you which one you want to pick. The other unit you want to fruit is Set, and just pick Resistant. It'll make him into a super tank, or any of the good tank ones you see here, like Selfish, Adaptive Skin, or Round 2 is fine. If you don't have any armor break, then Corrosive is fine. Other than that, most of the time is either Selfish, Resistant, or better yet, this is what I like to take, which is Tankzilla. Since you can be playing 6 Juggernaut anyways, Set should last long enough for the stun to happen, and this 1.5 second stun is actually pretty useful. The opener is pretty simple, it's just Gnar with Guinsoo's Rageblade, and then from here you just throw Sivir plus whatever frontline you can make. Most of the time it's going to be Juggernaut with Neferi and Aatrox. Unless you can high roll a Mundo early game, then you can just use Mundo over whatever one that is not level 2. If Aatrox 2, then use him. If Neferi's 2, then use her. Either one's fine. And you have a lot of power on this board. Unless you could get Malphite 2, then you can just throw Malphite in with Cannon. This is fine, and then just build up to Juggernauts later. It's just whatever you can build in the early game. It doesn't really matter, to be honest. But if you do play for Gnar with Guinsoo's Rageblade somehow, the best tip I can give is get the Golden Edge fruit on him, because this allows you to gain a lot of econ later in the game. So this is actually really useful on him. Next up, we got another version of Juggernauts, and this one is Twisted Fate for fast level 9. This board is actually pretty interesting because TF actually plays better as an AD unit than an AP unit, mainly because the auto attacks do bounce with 3 different units, so those bounces do count as physical damage, I think, but it says right here it does magic damage, so I don't know how that works. But the active actually does a lot of damage as AD. As you see here, the stats is way higher AD than it is AP. And if you don't believe me, if you look at the item trio pair, apparently AD has one of the highest win rates for top 4ing. So playing AD Twisted Fate is probably the best. You can throw in anti-heal items, for example here, like red buff and stuff, which is probably one of his best items as well. So if you don't want to do IE, you can do red buff, would probably be best. As long as you have Rageblade, you can build whatever you want. But I would say avoid to build AP on TF because it does not do a lot of damage. Every time I play AP TF, I always lose. So just play TF as if he's AD, not AP. And red buff would be very powerful, and Last Whisper is also really powerful on him because the bounces do work with the Last Whisper. Other than that, someone asked me earlier what's the knife unit for TF, and you just throw in Braum because you get Luchador in, or you can throw in Ashe if you want to, but I would just say that Luchador on Braum is actually better, or you throw in another set, either one's fine. Or even another Lee Sin is also good. The knife unit in the end doesn't really matter. Just throw AP items on Zyra and it's fine, and just throw tank items on Set. The best power-ups you could put on TF is Ramping Rage, since it gives him more attack speed every time he autos, and only pick Shadow Clone if you build either Anti-Heal or Last Whisper, or maybe even Voice Staff, but don't build Voice Staff on TF because apparently it's not good on him anymore. So just put either Last Whisper or Red Buff Merlicon, it's fine on him. And then Shadow Clone will be really good with that because that means your Shadow Clone has the same items. Therefore you hit the whole board debuff with extra debuff on the board as well. So if I say, so basically it's just if you have debuff items, pick Shadow Clone. If not, pick Ramping Rage, or even Sky Piercer is actually really good. If you don't have Last Whisper on TF, then Sky Piercer would work really well on him. Other than that, it's just between, yeah, these 3 basically. Shadow Clone, Ramping Rage, and Sky Piercer. And the second unit you want to fruit is Set. Just pick any good tank one, basically about it. There's not really much to say about Set. And for your early game, it's kind of the same thing as the Ashe Juggernaut style. It's just pick whatever you can do in the early game. You can play this as an opener with Gnar, Sivir, and plus whatever you can find, like Malphite 2, Cannon 2. That'll be great. Just win streak. Or the Juggernaut units such as Mundo and Aatrox. It doesn't really matter. It's just play your strongest board so you can play the fast 9. And remember, if you are playing Gnar as an opener of Rageblade, Golden Edge will make you hit level 9 even quicker because you get a lot of econ. Next up, we got another level 9 board, and that's going to be Mech. Surprisingly enough, this comp is actually very strong now, just because everything else got weaker. Therefore, just playing full Mech is actually pretty useful to play. Essentially, your main carry is going to be Yone with Edge and Knight, and you can build whatever other items you want, like IE or Hodge. You can mix it up with Bloodthirster. IE is fine, or Sterax is also okay, or Titans. It doesn't really matter which item you put on him. As long as you have Edge and Knight, anything works. And whatever tank items on J4 is fine, such as Protectors is one of his best, or Warmongs. Doesn't really matter. Anything works. And for your AP backline, you can make either Karma, Zyra, or Ryze the main carry. It doesn't really matter which one. It's just which one is ever level 2 first would be the best to play them as an AP carry. In my opinion, Zyra would be the best if she can be level 2 first, then you can just put items on her. Unless you don't have Zyra yet, then you have to choose between either Ryze or Karma. Just pick whatever one you want, as long as they're level 2. Just put AP items on them. The best fruits you could put on Yone, in my opinion, would be Unflinching, just because the extra crowd control immunity is really good on him, so he doesn't die as easy. Or Finalist is also pretty decent, because it gives him really good stats. If not, Crimson Veil is okay, because it gives you a lot of lifesteal, and it gives you a big shield as well. And I guess Warming Up could be okay. This is if you have Titans already, then this would be really good fruit to have overall. So whichever ones you see here that's S and A tier is really good. And in my opinion, the second person you want to fruit is Zyra, if you can get her level 2. You just pick whatever you see here. Bloom Bolus is really good, or Mage is really good. What I like to do is Mana Rush, where basically at the start of combat, she's able to have full mana, so she can just cast her ability right away. Or the second person you can fruit as well is J4. Just pick round 2 as one of his best, or Resistant. These two are the best ones you can pick. The other ones are kind of bad on J4 because he's not a real tank. He's more of a pseudo tank. So picking one of these fruits is probably best on him. Unless you want to pick a different AP backline unit that you want to put fruit on, Efficient is really good on Karma, or Stormbender is really good. Technically Shadow Clone and Mage is pretty decent, but these two are only good in the case of if you're playing for 6 Sorc. Because if you're not playing 6 Sorcerers, then these two fruits are kind of weak. For your opener, the strat you want to do is GP because he will farm you a lot of gold. So the items you want to build could be Legend Knight, i.e. one of these two is fine. And you just play mech in the early game with Aatrox and Lucian. And then from here you just play your strongest board. It doesn't matter what you can throw in. Most likely, since if you're going to play GP as the main carry, then you want to throw in a duelist unit, such as Kayle. And then level 5 you can throw in Zac, so you can get extra tank on Aatrox. And you also gain synergy with Kayle. Then level 6. If you're lucky enough, maybe you can find Udyr. This also gives you Juggernaut. This also gives you Mentor. So you have really good synergies on the board. And from here, you also have 3 duelists. If your Zac is not level 2 yet, then you can throw in a 4th duelist instead. So for example, you could throw in Viego. So you can have a little bit more power on the board. If your Zac's not level 2, then this would work. Unless your Zac is already level 2, then I would suggest just to play 3 duelists, it's fine. But once you hit level 8, then the board you really want to play is 5 mech with Rise on the board. So the units would be Karma, and you take out Kayle, and you also take out Zac. Then you throw in Rise, and like I said earlier, depending on which one's level 2 is depending you want to put AP items on. So if you have Karma 2 before Rise 2, then just put AP items on her first. And the best value mech here unit, the last one you can put in for 5 would be J4, and this board is actually pretty good overall to have. From here you can mix and match whatever unit. Say for example you have Poppy, you can use Poppy until you can get to level 9. Or if you just want to be cheap, you can use Senna and just play like this is fine with 6 mech and 2 duelists. This is not going to make you win rounds. This is just going to make you last long enough until you get hit level 9 at stage 5. And then once you hit to that point, then you look for your Yone and just transfer items from GP to Yone. And now you have 7 mech. And just take out Udyr for a better unit like Zyra. And this board is actually pretty powerful overall. Unless you want to play for Lee Sin 2, this also works as well, and just turn him into Juggernaut, and now we have extra tank. So you just mix and match the knife unit. It's either Lee Sin or it's either Zyra. Either one's fine. For the protagonist augments, I already explained each of the hero augments that are very powerful in another video. If you want to check that out, it'll be this thumbnail here. Basically my last video I made before this one. Next up we got is Kaisa reroll, and this is a board that everyone knows how to play. I feel like this is the default that most people would know, but it's not the most efficient way of playing because in order to play this board, to cap it out, you kind of have to hit level 8. And I know a different version that caps out already at level 6. All you have to do is just push level 7 to throw out 4 Supreme Cells. And that would be this board. The reason why this board is a lot better than the last one here is because this one, you have a lot of useless units, which is just all Juggernauts. But in this version, every unit is pretty useful. And you actually have a super tank you can 3-star as well, which is Rammus. So the concept of this board is essentially just having Kaisa as your main carry, and you can build either Shojin or Guinsoo's Rage Blade to gain that mana regen, and the core item you have to build no matter what is IE on her. If you don't have IE, she doesn't do damage. So you can mix and match either Shojin or Guinsoo's Rage Blade, always build IE. Third item could be either Last Whisper or Strikers, either one is fine. It's just as long you have IE, you can build IE, some sort of item make you cast faster, and +1 item. And for Rammus' case, if you don't have the Last Whisper on Kaisa, then at least build an Even Shroud on him so you have some sort of armor break on the board. And Darius could use whatever leftover sword items you can find on him. Most of the time you kind of want to build IE on him as well, then whatever you can find. And the way to play this board is when you hit level 6, basically you play this board, you just re-roll until you 3-star Kaisa, then you hit level 7 and throw out the Akali. And that's basically about it. From here you just re-roll until you 3-star Rammus and Darius, and potentially Udyr. Udyr is not too important to 3-star, but if you want to, go for it. And if you do decide to hit level 8, a good +1 unit you can throw out is Executioner Lee Sin is fine, or Zyra, because Zyra's just a good +1 unit overall. If not, it could be something like TF. So essentially it's just any of the legendary units you can find, you could just throw out. For your fruit, the best one you can pick on Kaisa is over 9,000, because when you play a reroll comp, this fruit allows you to gain infinite scaling. So this means that your Kaisa just has lots of damage over time. Another good scaling fruit you can pick as well on stage 2-1 would be max attack, because you gain more stacks and you gain more physical damage. So both of them are actually really good on stage 2-1 if you find Kaisa right away, and one of those are the only fruits that you find at the beginning. Other than that, the one you can always pick up no matter what would be Bullet Hell. Every time I see this one, I always pick it, just because this makes her have a lot more missiles, so she can do extra damage. The second unit you want to fruit is Rammus, and the best one is resistant overall, but if you find any of these two here, which is basically the Lulu fruit, is actually really good because this allows them to level up even faster, so that they can hit level 30 and upgrade their abilities faster. For those that don't know how Rammus works, you gain XP basically on per kill, which is the easiest way of explaining it. So the fastest you want to find Rammus is on stage 3-2 when you're rolling down for Kaisa. So this means that as you get Kaisa 2, hopefully you can find Rammus. If not, then your Rammus is going to be a lot weaker in the long run if you find them too late. Because this video is getting too long, I'm not going to explain anything about Jhin in this video because I already made a guide of this comp. So if you want to check it out, it'll be this thumbnail here. And Crew is really easy to play. I feel like there's no need for me to explain it since all of us probably know how to play Crew by now. It's actually like one of the beginner comps, so there's no point for me to explain it. And Kayle, same thing. I already made a video guide about it. If you want to check it out, it'll be this thumbnail here in my YouTube channel somewhere. So there's no need for me to explain this comp. But we're going to be talking about the next comp over it, which would be Jayce and Caitlyn. In order to play this comp, and if you want to win majority of your games, if you're somewhere around like Emerald or higher, I would say in order to play this comp, you need Silver Mirror. Because if you don't have this item on him, he's pretty much useless. But if you do decide to play this comp without Silver Mirror, then I guess you can do Titans on Jayce, it's fine. But in order for me to play this comp, I need to have a Silver Mirror or high roll a lot of Jayce at the beginning. And the positioning for this comp is very important here because this allows Jayce to like destroy everyone with the center gap. So this allows a lot of units to circle around the Leona here, and this makes Jayce slam in and hit a lot of units. So this is why it's important to position like this. And the main thing to talk about here is the Caitlyn. The items all you need on her is the Last Whisper. In all honesty, the rest of the items don't matter. But if you do want to BIS her, then it's Shojin with IE. If you can't build Shojin, then you could do Winsu's Rage Blade, so she can at least somewhat cast faster. And instead of IE, it could be +1 like Giant Slayer, or it could be Death Blade. One's fine. It doesn't really matter. As long as you have Last Whisper on Caitlyn, then she's good to go. And for your main tank, it's going to be Leona. She needs at least some sort of anti-heal item, so Sunfire is really good. Then whatever tank items you can find, it doesn't matter. But essentially, when you hit level 7, you want to roll for all the Academia units. So most likely, you're not going to have Kabuko in. And you're going to be playing for 7 Academia. And you want to 3-star your Jayce and your Caitlyn. Once you get both of them 3-star, then you hit level 8 to throw in your Kabuko to have the heavyweight, so that Jayce can do a lot of damage. The main thing we can also talk about here, because you're going to be playing Shadow Clone Fruit on Caitlyn, the position you can do is something like this is fine. So you can have double Caitlyns on the board. And this makes it to where her ulti can shoot either the top right side of the board or top left side of the board, since you have 2 Caitlyns on the board from Shadow Clone. But if you don't have that fruit, it's fine. You can just pick whatever. The fruits you want to put on Jayce is, if you find him on stage 2-1, then put over 9,000 on him as fast as you can. This allows him to stack a lot of stats and he can just one-shot everyone. Second to that would be basically not done yet. In all honesty, this fruit is kind of difficult to play around because you do need Jayce to die 8 times in order to get the stats. So basically, I would say either choose this one or Finalist is also really good. These two are really good to have on Jayce. If not, Waits is also okay on Jayce as well. For your Caitlyn fruit, is always Shadow Clone if you can, but if you can't find this, then either Efficient, since this will make her cast even faster, or if not, maybe Precision might be okay if you want the extra damage. For the early game opener, basically you just play around Garen, and most likely you should have a Silver Mirror if you want to guarantee to play this comp. If not, then you can do something like BT or Sterak's is fine. Then from here you just throw in all the Academia units that you can find, like Ezreal and maybe Katarina or Rakan. Either one is fine, it's just whatever one you find. Then you throw in a Rel so you can get that Bastion on the board. Then when you hit level 4, you just play your best board from here. You can throw in Syndra, then the rest is history. Just throw in more Academia units until you hit level 7. The next comp over from Jayce would be Samira, which is Soul Fighters, and I'm not going to explain anything about it because I already made a video guide comp of it. If you want to check out how to play that comp, just look for this thumbnail here somewhere in my YouTube channel. Next up we got is Star Guardians, and the way how I like to play it is playing around Jinx carry. But sometimes you can play reroll for Ahri. If you 3-star Ahri at level 8 somehow, then you can play her as the main carry. And what I mean by main carry is whichever fruit you put on, because you want to fruit your Poppy no matter what, since she's going to be your main tank. The items you want to put on Jinx is IE, plus whatever you can find, like strikers, and then some sort of way to make her cast faster, like Gwynsu's Rage Blade or Shojin. Either one's fine. Personally, I like to put Kraken on her just so she can one-shot the board. That's just my opinion. You can do that if you want to. But other than that, Poppy just needs really good tank items. And Ahri, all she needs is really just Void Staff, then whatever AP items. It doesn't really matter because this unit does too much damage for no reason. And in order to play this board, you do have to hit level 9 to fit the whole thing in, because you have to have Kubuko in no matter what. So say for example, you don't have Seraphine in, then this board will be fine to play. But if you do find Seraphine, I would say drop the Xayah and just throw the Seraphine in because the stats are a lot better here. Then once you hit level 9, then throw in the Xayah later. Other than that, that's basically about it how to play Star Guardian. There's not really much to say. The fruits you kind of want to look for, I would say Star Sailor is kind of weak now, so there's no point in picking this anymore. I would say pick stuff like Unstoppable is really good on Poppy, or Regenerative is actually really good on her too. So either one, either Regenerative or Unstoppable. If not, Body Change can be okay. Just because you're playing Star Guardian, it actually helps with the extra tank on the board. If you're fruiting Jinx as the main carry, I actually like Precision a lot because this makes her one-shot the board. But sometimes this fruit is not enough, so you might have to switch to something else. So if you don't have Last Whisper or even Shroud on the board, Sky Piercer could be really good for her. And she also technically provides Shred on the board if you don't have Voice Staff for whatever reason. If not, Stormbender is actually good on her just because your board is mostly AP. So that extra damage she do as physical damage also converts to AP with the Storm damage here. So therefore you have some sort of extra damage on the board of Jinx. If not, Hyperactive is pretty decent too, because once she gets a kill, it actually gives her a lot of attack speed, so she can cast faster again on the second one. Unless you're playing Ahri as the main carry, then you can do Stormbender's pretty good, since like I said earlier with the Jinx thing, you're playing a lot of AP on the board, so this allows you to have extra damage. If not, something like Mage is okay, or Killer Instinct is fine on her. But this is the case if you want to play 3-star Ahri, then you can fruit her. If you don't 3-star her, then fruit the Jinx. The opener is pretty simple, it's just play Ezreal with Syndra, so you can have the Prodigy, and you just throw in Rel and Garen on the board. It's actually pretty simple to play. It's just AP items like Voice Staff or whatever AP items you can find on Syndra. And if you do build 80 items, just put on Ezreal. He could be the Jinx item holder. Then over time, just throw in Star Guardian units. For example, Xayah is fine. And if Ezreal is not level 2, then just transfer the items to Xayah. But if he is level 2, just keep it on him. Then you could probably find a Nico. Or if you want to power up your board, because Ezreal has items, then you might as well throw in Rakan. And then if you do find Nico, if Xayah's still level 1, just get rid of her and just throw a Nico. So you at least have extra tank on the board. And then when you hit level 7, just throw in whatever. Level 8, play your board. Basically about it. It's pretty simple to play Star Guardian. And that's basically about it for at least the most important comps you need to know in the current patch. I know I'm not going to get through the B tier comps, like for example Smolderboard or Karma Sork, since a lot of us know how to play that one already. I did talk about Darius already in my last video towards the end, so if you want to check it out, it'll be there. And Varus board, I know I didn't talk about it, but I'm just getting lazy to record now, so it's not even worth it to play since it's not too strong for you to win games with. You have to like super high roll in order for this to work, so there's no point to learn. And Xayah's case, it's okay to play, but there's no really need to explain it since it's not too powerful to top 4 majority of your games. You'll probably win like 1 out of every 10 games. But yeah, if you want to check out most of these comps, you can just look at different sites that will link below. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.